When you go to the gym, your goal is to work out to failure. Once you've failed and hit your max, you know that you're growing and you're getting better. We celebrate this. But in business and in life, it's a much different story. Failure is bad and looked down on, even though it's inevitable for success. This is the fourth part in our Business Growth series where I am taking my top growth advice from running a successful marketing agency over 14 years and also working with hundreds of different businesses. And I'm breaking these lessons down into separate episodes, and today we are talking about learning how to fail. Let's jump in. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Liquid's Digital Marketing Podcast. Today we are talking about learning how to fail, and this is the fourth part in our Business Growth series. I am super excited that you are here today. This is a topic that I am very passionate about. I think a lot of people struggle with this, whether they realize it or not. I know it's one of the top things that I've struggled with in running our business over 14 years and still work on. So I just think it's a part of everybody's experience when you are an entrepreneur or a business owner. I mean, I think it's one of the riskiest and scariest things in life, right? Like there's so many variables and so many things that can, go wrong, right? So we have this fear of failing, and that probably starts from childhood and all of our life experiences, but it comes out in our work, in our business, and how we succeed and how we handle failure, and it trickles down into our team and the success, our overall success. Just to start off with, I just like to say that failing is a prerequisite to success. Like, you have to fail in order to succeed. There's no way around it. You're not going to get there any other way. And if you haven't failed yet, then it's just a matter of time. Like, obviously you failed. We're all failing. So how we handle that is the biggest takeaway, right? The biggest thing that's what you can do. Like, you can't predict the failure. You can't stop the failure. You can't not fail. It's all about how you handle the fail, right? Okay. So the trick is, if failing is the prerequisite to success, so in order to succeed, you have to fail, it would only make sense that learning how to fail faster is the quickest way to grow. Now, there are a few professions where this does not apply. One of those would be a surgeon. So if you are a surgeon, I would kindly ask you to turn this off. Your surgeon is the last person you would want to learn by failing, right? So, okay, there's a few other ones out there, maybe a pilot, right? You don't want him to learn by failing. But for the rest of us, failing is what you want to do. You want to fail, and you want to celebrate this. So in business and in life, we avoid failure and look down on failure, but think about when you go to the gym, right? Like, in order for you to grow and get better and to get stronger, you have to work out to failure. Like, if you're just going to the gym and you're just using light weights and you're never really like pushing your muscles to the extent of failure, then you're not building, you're not growing your muscles. Well, it's the same thing in life. It's the same thing in business. If you are just, going into work and just kind of like going through the motions and not like pushing yourself, then you're not failing and you're then not growing. So it's all a mindset thing, right? So a lot of times I think we just get comfortable, or we search for comfortable. We want to be comfortable, so we don't push ourselves and do the things that are scary or the things that we're afraid of failing at. So it's a mindset. It really is. It's a mindset thing. Okay, so being afraid to fail is going to show up in your business in some different ways. So here's how you can tell if maybe you are afraid to fail. So first off is you're not taking risk in your business. You're always playing it safe. So maybe there's those things that you know you need to do and you're just not doing them because you're just afraid to fail or you're just not doing them, right? So, and basically that brings us to the next one. You're not doing the things that need to be done. So there's probably a list of things that you know you need to do or you should be doing, but you're not because it's a thing that's you're not comfortable with, you're afraid to fail. I get it. There's a handful of things on my list, right? There's a handful of things on your list too. So what are those things and what can you do about that? The next thing is maybe you're not delegating work. So maybe failure isn't you failing. Maybe it's your business not providing the best service and you're afraid that if you hand over the work you've been doing for years that the other person that you're handing it off to is not going to do as good of a job as you would do. So you're afraid of it failing. You're afraid of the system failing. You're afraid of your business not providing the results it should. So you're not delegating the work. That could be one way it shows up. The other way is your team. So how does it show up in your team, which kind of goes with this delegation thing. So if you think about your team, if you have a situation where your team always, or the members of your team have to come to you with all of the problems or always need your answer or your approval or, need to get your input on everything when it comes to, getting the work done, there's a very, very, very good chance that is because they are afraid to fail. And maybe they don't have the instinctual, I'm just afraid to fail. Maybe they're afraid of failing because of you. Maybe they're afraid of failing you. So it's important as a business owner that you let them know that it's okay to fail. So, and we'll get into some tips on how you can, get better at failing. So, but there's still some more. So worrying about what others will think, right? So this kind of shows up a lot in being a face of the company or putting yourself out there. You're worried, a lot in social media, right? If you're afraid to you need to maybe be doing these videos and TikToks and Reels and getting out there, but you're afraid because you don't want to put your face in front of the camera and start talking because, quite frankly, and this was me when I started, you were worried about what others were going to think of you. You're worried what they would, that you'd come off not looking right or whatever, and you were afraid of that. And that's completely normal. And I think that's everybody, right? I can't, unless you're just naturally, which there's a very select few, everybody's worried about that. Okay, the other thing is just procrastinating. You need to get certain things done, but you're just procrastinating to get them done because you're afraid of failing at them. So that's the other way. Okay, so let's talk about how you can overcome some of these things. How can you deal with it? So I would say, and this is really maybe an obvious one, but the first thing is to recognize it, right? So understand that you are afraid to fail. Understand that what is the list? What are the things on your list that you're afraid of failing at? I guarantee there's probably some. There's got to be some. I mean, you are human. So recognize it. Understand what those are. And then intentionally work on it. Right? So if you are afraid of public speaking, as am I, then you're going to have to work on it. Start small, right? Start doing things. Maybe start just being in front of people and talking. Maybe it's behind a camera. And then maybe it's doing some talks on a small group in Zoom or going live. And then maybe it's, getting on stage and, it's the baby steps, right? It's kind of funny. That's a funny story because a personal story. I am afraid of public speaking. I am afraid of getting up on stage and speaking in front of a crowd. I just am. And I don't think that's uncommon, but I just haven't done it a lot, if at all. I've done some Zooms, but whatever. That's my fear and I understand it and I recognize it, right? And I know at some point in my career, it's going to become a thing. But the funny part of the story is for years, I was the lead singer in a band and we would go out and we would play and I would get up on stage in front of a bar, in front of a crowd of people that I didn't know and I would sing and I loved it. And I was not afraid. Well, I was when I first started, but we did it enough to where I wasn't. So but I'm still afraid about it. But to go up on stage and speak, I'm afraid. Why? I don't know. But whatever. I recognize it. I need to intentionally work on it. So some other things you can do is really, you have to find ways to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? So maybe being fearful isn't ever gonna go away, right? Because it's a human instinct. You're gonna be afraid. So you're not gonna necessarily like come up with this way to avoid fear. It's a matter of recognizing it and working through the fear. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. And the other thing is to find little things, the 1% things that you can do today that are going to make you feel uncomfortable, the little things that you can work on. So if you're maybe more introverted and it's, just speaking with people, then maybe it's pick a moment of each day where you're going to kind of do something out of the norm and like spark a conversation with someone that you normally wouldn't, or do something outside of yourself that makes you feel a little uncomfortable. And you're going to start being comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's the 1% thing that you do. I call these things my slingshot moments, right? It's the little things that are going to slingshot me forward to get me closer to my goal of what I want to do and who I want to be. There you have it, folks. That is being okay with failure. So like learning how to fail. Like, we're all going to fail. So let's learn how to fail faster and support one another. Look, if you found this helpful and valuable, please share it with other business owners and entrepreneurs that you think might need to hear this message. Please leave us a review if you think that it's worthy of a review. And we'll see you in the next episode.